no idea what I wanted to do in high school, except that I knew I wanted to change the world. I didn't have a lot of direction on that. I was kind of all issues all at once. I wanted to solve all of them right now, um, which meant that I didn't really have a plan or a path. I actually graduated high school just kind of planning to take a gap year, figure out my life. And what I decided to do was I knew I wanted to get out of my small town. So I was like, well, I guess I'll go to college then, since that's how people do that. And I really wanted to get out. So I went to study abroad at the University of Nottingham in England. And I decided to study history kind of on a whim because I liked that teacher in that class and it was a subject I didn't find in. So that was all fine, except that you can't switch majors in the English system. If you want to do something else, you drop out and you reapply. So I was kind of stuck in history, which was a bummer because I was realizing I really missed the science that I had also loved learning about in high school. So I discovered that such a thing as environmental history exists, which is just kind of studying the relationship between people and their environment over time. And so I really focused on that because that was as sciencey as I could get. And it ended up serving me well. I was in high school. I think it took me until I was 17 to realize I wasn't an introvert and to get confidence talking to other people at all. I did some of that through theater and through choir and things like that. Just those experiences through the arts, putting yourself out there gave me confidence, but I could never have imagined that I would be wrangling 90 high schoolers on the beach as an adult and even making my voice loud enough to do that or public speaking or anything like I do now. Actually, about once a week, I look back and I'm like, how did I end up here? I'm so happy that I did. Um, and you can find the little through lines backwards where it all makes sense if you look back hard enough, but I could never have imagined that I'd be doing something this cool. So when I graduated and I moved to Seattle, there was an economic recession. I didn't have a lot of job skills. There were no jobs for recent college grads, but I could talk a lot about sea otters because that was a thing I had written a paper about in college. So I went to volunteer at the Seattle Aquarium. And volunteering there was one of the best things I've ever done with my life. I learned so much. I basically got a second degree. And from there, I realized I was really passionate about the subject matter, but I didn't really have the skills to help other people that walked through the doors become passionate. So I wanted some more educational experience. So I had a brief summer job as a whale watching guide, which just fueled my passion even more. After that, I went to Islandwood and the University of Washington for a master's degree program in science education. So that was a really amazing program because at Islandwood, which is like the first year of your master's through this program, you get to go take kids outside every other week and teach them in the woods about science and the environment. And then every other week, you're in classes learning about how to be a better teacher. So that kind of launched me on my professional environmental education path even more. I went back to the aquarium after that, got a job as a marine science interpreter and a citizen science instructor, which was really, really fun. And then I kind of bopped around different nonprofits. I went back to history for a while, but I wound up at the city of Kirkland. And I'm really happy to be doing this because it all kind of came from a love of orcas and the bigger marine mammal wildlife. And then I realized how much their food web mattered and salmon. And from there, how much the salmon's food web mattered and how much that depends on clean water. So I feel like I'm still supporting all the things I love just from the ground up or from the water up. With environmental education, people think it's all about knowing the subject matter and then just telling people about it. The whole reason I got into my graduate program in education was I realized I knew the subject matter and I didn't know how to talk to people and help them really get it. So I think it's important to have subject matter expertise, but it's even more important to understand how people learn, where they're at, what they care about, what motivates them, what empowers them. And that's all social skills, right? That's all learning theory. And so I would say for anyone that wants to do this work of really being a translator between science and between people's emotions and their actions, that you really have to understand both languages. You have to understand the scientific part, and the more you do understand that deeper science, the more you can kind of pick out the really important bits that people will be excited by or that they should really know about so they understand why they're doing a particular action. But it's really important to understand what is that emotional hook that's going to make people care about what you care about. And you're not going to understand that emotional hook unless you know how to ask the right questions. So, figuring out how to be a good teacher and how to be a good guide along the way is really actually probably the most important skill for environmental education work.